cap is officially set at. League just put out the announcement a few moments ago. It's fortunate for us for a variety of different reasons, but not the least of which is because we've got a former NFL agent booked on the show today. Joel Corry of CBS Sports joins us now on 104.5 The Zone. Joel, I was just reminding the audience that the salary cap has just been set in the league, an unprecedented jump of $30 million year over year for each club to have at their disposal. Your reaction?
Yeah, I didn't see it coming in that high because the preliminary projections were between 240 and 245. That was because you still were dealing with paying back money from the pandemic year when the salary cap ended up dropping. So we're back to normal. 255.4 is a game changer for some teams, particularly ones like the Saints, who have a credit card approach to the salary cap where they push today's cap obligations consistently into tomorrow. And it also helps the Chiefs if they want to franchise Chris Jones for $32.16 million, because they have about $12 million more cap room to play with than they had otherwise.
So as an agent, how does this change the approach? You've mentioned a couple of different scenarios, and there's going to be unrestricted free agents, there'll be franchise tag candidates and things of the like, so it's not one size fits all as far as a game plan here. But beyond just asking for more money, how does that change an agent's thinking?
Well, it could expand the pool of teams that you're looking at for your respective free agents, because a team which you were thinking may not have interest with this type of cap room, you go, well, maybe they are interested. Or you maybe had a guy who you thought would be a salary cap casualty. Maybe he's safe now because they don't necessarily need to cut him. Or maybe he goes from a guy they would never consider having take a pay cut to one where he is a pay cut candidate. Also, all the franchise tag numbers are going to go up because they're based on their percentage of the cap. So all those numbers, which were projected at one point using a $245 million salary cap, are going to go up as well. I haven't redone the calculations, but yeah, it affects everything across the board.
So how do you view the salary cap, the franchise tag generally? I know players, aren't thrilled with the idea of teams having more control over their ability to capitalize on their abilities and their contract situation. But how do you view the franchise tag as a tool?
It's a powerful management tool which directly affects a handful of players each year, but indirectly affects everybody. Because let's say you didn't have a franchise tag at all, and once a guy's contract was expiring, he was going to go into free agency. You'd have more guys kind of like Dak Prescott is this year because he has specific clauses in his contract, one, no trade, and two, you can't stick a franchise or transition tag on him if he plays out his deal. It would give players a tremendous amount more leverage, particularly the quarterbacks. We probably would have seen more fully guaranteed contracts at that position if you didn't have the franchise tag. Plus, salaries across the board at the various positions would be higher because you wouldn't have the ability to restrict someone. Let's take someone like Dalton Schultz, for instance. The Cowboys stuck a franchise tag on him in 2022, had no intention of signing him to a long-term deal. Strong tight end draft class last year, so it was a terrible tight end market for the veterans. So he signs a one-year prove-it deal with the Texans. He probably would have gotten his long-term deal from somebody, maybe the Jets, because they went out and paid two tight ends in 2022 without a franchise tag.
Joel Corry, former NFL agent, now contributor for CBS Sports. You can read him at cbssports.com. In fact, he's got a piece on Derrick Henry coming out later today that we'll get into here.
It's actually out now.
Oh, actually out right now on cbssports.com. Make sure you check it out. We'll touch on that here in just a moment. One of the people watching the show on YouTube today brings up an interesting point, Joel. Cash on hand for owners, the cash that they absolutely have to have for the guaranteed money on these contracts. How much of a different game does it make for ownership situations where I know we've gotten into a different stratosphere with the kind of money that's buying into NFL franchises, but the Tennessee Titans are not necessarily a cash flush organization. I'm wondering how that's going to change things for the level of people that consider buying into this sport.
Yeah, if you get more owners like the Walmart family buying in, then it's not going to matter because you got guys who are near the top of the Forbes list. Then putting money in escrow for fully guaranteed contracts is something that they are more capable of doing than one of your cash poor teams. So I'm curious to see if you get more ownership like that in the future. But putting that aside, all teams have not only the salary cap to operate under, but also they have a cash budget. So they try to stay within their cash budget as well in terms of how much signing bonus gets paid, how much gets deferred, and how much they're going to spend overall on salaries each year. So regardless of the wealth of the individual owner, you're still going to have a cash budget.
Joel Corry, CBS Sports, here with us on 104.5 The Zone.
So, Joel, what's your take then on Derrick Henry, how today's news affects him, combined with his age and mileage, considering what the Titans have had in front of him over the last couple of years and the production that has come despite that?
Yeah, well, I look at it this way with the Titans, that you had a 4-year window. You married Ryan Tannehill's contract with Derrick Henry's. That window's done. You drafted a running back for a fairly early pick, conceivably to replace him. If I'm Derrick Henry, the only way I come back to Tennessee is if the market is extremely soft and you guys give me a landing spot to come back. Otherwise, I'm going to go play for a contender. Now, he's interesting from the standpoint that he just turned 30. He's got over 2,000 career carries. Those are 2 major strikes against him. However, he's still very productive. He was second in the league in rushing last year, led the league in carries, although his workload was low compared to his other years. Now, what I did in the article was I started looking at what you might expect out of Derrick Henry given his circumstances with the age and that type of mileage. There have been 53 instances of a running back having over 1,000 yards once they reach 30. And since the 21st century started, there have been 14 instances where as a 30-year-old running back or older who had 1,000 yards. And some of those guys are Hall of Famers like Curtis Martin and Emmitt Smith. Nobody's done it more than twice. Frank Gore, and Peterson were the last 2. So I would be fairly confident, given where Henry has been, that he's not going to just fall off a cliff immediately, that you could probably get 2 good years out of him. I wouldn't want to commit to more than 2 good years with him, given how things work historically, and he'd be pushing 2,500 carries, although he's a physical freak and could be just the outlier that we haven't really seen before. But the average of the top 15 running backs last year on veteran contracts was about $9.975 million per year. So maybe $20 million over 2 years would be fair if you can get somebody to pay that. And to me, he makes the most sense for a team which looks at him as a missing piece to get them over the hump. Maybe the Ravens that were rumored to be trading for him last season, or maybe the Cowboys.
How would you go about the guaranteed money discussion if you were in a situation where you were negotiating on behalf of Derrick Henry? How would you approach the guaranteed money portion of that, of a 2-year, $20 million deal, hypothetically?
Yeah, well, I'd want the first year to be almost all signing bonus with minimal base salary or close to it, and then a partial guarantee in the second year where there's maybe $3 to $5 million guaranteed for injury upon signing, and then on the 3rd or 5th day of the 2025 league year, it becomes fully guaranteed, so that it's a 1-year deal for, let's say, $11 million. If Father Time just defeats him next year, which I'm not anticipating, and if he can still play, then you've got the 2-year deal. So he plays at 30 and 31, and you worry about what happens after that. If I'm a team, I don't want to sign him for more than 2 years. So the 2-year deal may be fair because I think he's got at least 2 good years left in him.
Former NFL agent Joel Corry, CBSSports.com, here with us on 104.5 The Zone. You can read the latest agent's take on Derrick Henry's free agent dilemma and how there are solutions to it that will continue to arise, especially given the salary cap spike that we've just seen announced by the NFL. The column that you had written before that on Dak Prescott and Jordan Love. Jordan Love is an interesting talking point, given the deal that they signed him to this year, that he'll be able to cash in on it just one offseason removed after having, not a tremendous amount of success, but having more success than I think a lot of us might have anticipated based on the small body of work. What is Jordan Love's leverage in these discussions?
Well, he played lights out the second half of the year. 18 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The last 8 games, they went 6-2, and then in the playoffs, outplayed Dak Prescott and more than held his own against Brock Purdy when they became the first 7 seed to upset a 2 seed since the playoffs expanded to 14 teams. Now, the 2 things I look at if I'm Jordan Love. One, they're probably going to try to extend the contract after the draft. And the longer you wait to extend someone you think is a core player, the more it's going to cost you in the long run. If I'm the agent, I'm going, hey, you already know you're willing to pay a quarterback $50 million per year. Granted, it was Aaron Rodgers coming off of 2 MVPs, but my guy outperformed what Aaron Rodgers did in his last year with the Packers in 2023. Also, I'm going way back to when Aaron Rodgers first became the starter. After half a season of starts, they made him one of the 5 highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. You didn't know that Aaron Rodgers was going to be a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer at that time. Statistically, he was comparable to Jordan Love, not Jordan Rodgers. His brother played at Vanderbilt. Jordan Love's 2023 season was statistically comparable to Aaron Rodgers' 2008 season when the Packers went 6-10 and didn't make the playoffs. So I'm looking at $50 million per year is what I'm targeting if we're going to do the deal before the regular season starts. If not, we can wait. And if 2023 is him just scratching the surface, I may ask to be the highest paid player in 2025.
Joel, let's say T. Higgins gets tagged by the Cincinnati Bengals. I think there's an expectation that that's what happens. If that's the case, which free agent wide receiver gets the most money on the open market?
Might be Mike Evans. He's not getting tagged. So that tag number is going to be $28 million. I'm expecting Michael Pittman to get tagged, even though he may not be worth it because you've got a rookie quarterback, and why are you going to let your best weapon potentially leave? Mike Evans is going to be probably looking for $25 million per year. I know he's 30, but he's had 1,000 yards every single year in his career, which is the NFL record to start a career. You have a little more comfort in a wide receiver playing well into his mid-30s. So if you did a 3-year deal with Mike Evans, he'd probably play it out. So I would be looking, if I'm him, to get more than $25 million per year.
CBSSports.com is where you go to read Joel Corry and the agent's take. Go check out his latest piece. Literally went up an hour ago on Derrick Henry and his free agent dilemmas for more information that we were not able to get to with Joel here. Joel, thank you so much for doing it. It's always good to have you on, and we're smarter for it. We appreciate it.
Sure, anytime. Thanks for having me.
That's Joel Corry, former NFL agent, now with CBS Sports. Well, that worked out well timing-wise.
No doubt.
Goodness.
Does that surprise you, the Mike Evans being at the top of that list for Joel?
No.
Despite the age?
No. Mike Evans was phenomenal. I mean, I know he didn't have the best postseason. I'm sure he would like a couple of those drops that he had back for Baker. But Mike Evans is one of the most consistently high-performing wide receivers in the sport since he's come into the league. How many back-to-back 1,000-yard receivers? 1,000 yards receiving seasons does he have? I want to say
the fact that the answer to that question is however many years he's been in the league.
Has he had 1,000 yards receiving at least every year he's been in the league? Is that correct?
Every year he has been in the league since after he was catching passes from Johnny Football at Texas A&M. Rookie year was 2014.
Yeah, you pay that guy.
Yeah, I mean, Joel's career high or his second best career year in touchdowns this past season. Like, there's been no semblance of drop-off.
Should we be talking about Mike Evans more here?
And he's so available. I mean, he's missed 2 games in the last 4 seasons.
I mean, you already risked it once with a 30-plus-year-old. Well, you've done it a couple of times, but this is a different kind of discussion, right?
He'll be 31 when Week 1 kicks off.
So it's Hopkins. I mean, you're doing another Hopkins deal. Now, this would be for a higher price point because I think people were way lower on Hop coming off the suspension and the injuries prior, and Arizona not going necessarily the way that everybody wanted it to go. I'm totally prepared to have a discussion about Mike Evans around here, especially for $25 million.
And especially if you're addressing the wide receiver position in the draft, which you can do both.
Well, you should do both.
Yeah. You
have
expect them to do both.
Lucas,
Expected it last year. I know.
sure did. And then I got Colton Dowell, and then no DeAndre Hopkins until like July.
I wonder what the discrepancy between Evans and Ridley will look like in free agency. Because Calvin Ridley is, how old do you think Calvin Ridley is off the top of your head?
29.
29, okay.
They're the same age.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's a year difference. Ridley turns 30 in December.
I would like to see Mike Evans playing for the Titans next year. I mean, it would be a third of your now available cap space that you're on an average annual basis. Now, you can structure the cap hit not however you want to, but there are ways to be flexible with the cap.
Jaron on the F&M Bank chat says, Hop was a no-brainer at the price that we got him, but almost $30 million for Evans? Just draft Odunze or Neighbors.
Okay, listen, it's going to be, this is what they cost now, all right? You have all the cap space. What are you saving it for? If not now, when? I used to be one of these people, so I understand it, because the sticker shock, it takes you a while to get over with. I'm never going to make $30 million a year in my life. Not even, Tom Brady's making 35 and a half or $37.5 million a year. Is that right with Fox? At the height of sports broadcasting, he's just going to walk in the booth and he gets to. He's Tom Brady. That's the best. But that's the height of our profession, all right? I'm assuming that at no point in my life am I going to make $30 million a year. But that's not what my market is. I'm not Mike Evans. I'm not an NFL wide receiver. Yesterday's price is not today's price. Don't know how many times I can repeat that Pusha T line. So this is the time that you spend. This is the time that it is best for you to spend. Your roster, as presently constructed, think about how affordable Jeff Simmons is now. That happened in a year.
Yeah, he did that deal at the right time.
Well, sure. Clearly nobody expected the cap to go up $30 million. And I'm not saying that you can expect it to go up another $30 million next year. That won't make these contracts look. But think about how different Jeff Simmons' contract looks a year removed because of the salary cap and the way that this stuff is not slowing down. People are going to continue to pay for NFL rights. The reason that this exists is because of media rights. Think about A.J. Again, I mentioned A.J. Brown only because the Titans just got into a situation, and there were other mitigating factors there with A.J. But A.J. Brown makes on average annual basis $25 million a year. That is so affordable. When did he sign that deal? 2021? It was after the 2021 season?
It was after the 21 season.
That
so
AJ
2022 he got traded. It was the 2022
year,
draft.
Year, 2022. April of 2022 when they traded him, okay? $25 million a year for A.J. Brown 2 years ago, okay? And how much more affordable that looks like. It's not going to keep going up predictably at this rate. Again, this is unprecedented. But if you're not going to spend now, I don't know when you justify the spend.
So if we're talking about 25 a year for Evans, what are we talking about for Ridley? 22? Calvin Ridley.
I don't know. I bet. I don't think it's that much. I don't think it's that much further, even though they're not the same player, even though there's a level of consistency there with Evans that you basically don't find anywhere else. Who else has that?
No, it's NFL record-setting consistency.
Yes.
Joel Corry said it. That most years in a row to start a career with 1,000-yard seasons.
Either way, if it's not 25, it's close. I bet he's right up there. And if you're the agent, that's absolutely what you asked for.
Think about this offense with DeAndre Hopkins and Mike Evans, left tackle taken at 7, and whatever day 2 pick at wide receiver. How much better this offense is with those 3 moves? It's those 3.
I'm no better than to trust offensive line moves by now. They're not real until they're real, okay?
They can't hurt you anymore, Buck.
No, they sure can.
You have BTS. You know that? You like to put it on Titans fans. You have BTS.
You're damn right.
Yeah.
No, you wonder why Koharski the way that he is? It's 25 years of this crap. Are you kidding me? This is me after 7 seasons. What do you think I'm going to look like in 20 years, Lucas? if they keep trotting out Dennis Daly and Andre Dillard, what do you think's going to happen to me? You think I'm going to get better? No. The only cure for my BTS, you're damn right I have BTS. I probably have a more extreme version of BTS than most of you.
Yeah, because people can shut it off. People would say, I'm done. Not watching anymore, not going to games.
What was that weird Sandra Bullock Netflix movie where they had to keep the people's eyes open?
Oh, Bird Box.
Bird Box. The Titans are my Bird Box, okay? I can't close my eyes. I have to sit there and watch it over and over and over again. Yes, I have BTS. Diagnosed. Last call for phone call, 615-737-1045 is the number. We'll update the polls. We'll get you over to Blaine and Mickey.